Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to our pre-match press conference to preview our fixture with Southampton this weekend. And if we can start off with Alan Irwin at Sky Sports, please.
Thanks, Andy. Hi, Frank.
Hi.
Hi. Can we assume it's been a much nicer week for you following that excellent win over Leeds? I know one swallow doesn't make a summer, of course, but how much does that do for confidence for what lies ahead?
Yeah, well, hopefully it helps. It was a very good performance. We know that, and we've analysed it ourselves and the really good parts of it, and also the few bits that we want to improve on. And it's good for the confidence of the group. I come in here and we've done quite a long, difficult run of results, so that clearly is the first thing that can give you a bounce. But I think we have to get our heads keep ourselves very settled and understand that, as you mentioned, it's one result. We've had 2 wins, one in the cup, one in the league, but there's a lot of work to be done. But it was a nice template to move forward from.
I suppose one of the more pleasing aspects was a clean sheet, the first in 13 games. Was that something of a priority for you when you came to the club, given that there'd only been 3 prior to the weekend?
Yeah, amongst others. The important thing is winning games in the Premier League, and with the level of it, you can concede goals, and you just try and find a way to limit the opportunities of the other team, and that was one of the big pluses of Leeds, is that we pressed well in their half. We didn't allow them territory, which they generally have in their games against opposition and possession, which meant they stayed far away from our goal. They had a couple of long-range efforts. So there were nice bits about how we kept that clean sheet, which we have to work moving forward. Of course, it helps in a big way, but it's a very much a team effort in terms of keeping clean sheets, as is attacking. So we work consistently on both sides of that.
I know it was a great all-round team performance, but just a few words for your right-back who was playing at left-back. John Joe Kenny, did he epitomise the sort of character and desire that you're looking for throughout the squad? I think many will have seen the video of him celebrating the first goal. He looked like a fan on the Gladys Street, didn't he?
Yeah, he did, and that's absolute gold, because the fans will relate hugely to that. We all saw the images or the video of that. So, but I don't want to make him just a local lad with a big heart. He's a very good player. I saw that from the moment we've been here. I know that before. Some of my staff have worked with him previously, so the references I had before here, he was a great lad and a very good player. And sometimes it's just working with the player, trying to give them confidence. And when you've got lads like that in the group, they help. They help positive feeling, they help determination and moments to dig in. Leeds was a moment to dig in moments, and he did that. And he himself will be very happy with that. And hopefully it's a springboard for him in the short term. Because we're fresh and new as a staff, everyone has that chance to show and impress, and what better to do it than the way John Joe did it last week.
You've got a bit of competition for places now, because Nathan Patterson must be pushing for a place in the starting 11. We've not seen him yet, is he?
No, sorry, you just froze there. But Nathan is obviously a young player that we've signed. We have a lot of hopes for in the longer term, but we also have to think shorter term, and there's competition for a reason. And at the minute, Seamus playing there as our captain has been brilliant since I've been in. Got a lot of respect for Seamus, and Nathan will get his chance. So it's purely a case of him of working in training every day in training to improve, working with all the staff. For instance, we've got Ashley Cole on our staff. They're not better people to go to than Ashley in reference to his personal position. But in terms of the collective, he has to work about how in the direction we want. And I'm positive that he will do. He's just a young player, and his time will certainly come.
How difficult is your job for Saturday in terms of picking a starting 11? Because it must be hard to argue against saying same again.
Yeah, and that's my choices and my thought process through this week. There's an argument for going same again. We kind of felt similarly going into Newcastle, and it didn't quite work. So it's not a statement of fact. The players have to feel through the week that they can find a way into the team, or if we have to change our approach for the opposition, because Leeds to Southampton, 2 very good teams in lots of very different ways. So I'll consider that as we go. And the good thing is we've got players that play well, and we've got players that are hungry to get into the team, and that's just the environment that you want.
Just on Southampton, they're on a good run of form, aren't they? So what are you expecting from them? I think it's 8 unbeaten at home as well, and Armando Broja as well. Did you know him from your time at Chelsea and know what sort of a prospect he was?
Well, I gave him his debut at Chelsea, so I did know.
Oh, there you go. Should have done my homework.
No, it's fine. He's a very nice, very good lad, very talented young boy. He came into us at the start of the COVID times and trained with us and showed the attributes I think you're seeing now in the Premier League at Southampton. He's fast, he's strong, has a real eye for a goal. A very, very good young player. So I'm very aware of his strengths, and within that, in a Southampton team playing very well, as you say. You know, they've been together a long time under the same manager, have a very firm idea. Through tough times that they've been through, they stick together and keep working in the same direction, and that's a sign of a strong club with belief in a manager and a manager with belief in his players. So at the moment, they're in very good form. It'll be a very tough match for us.
And just in terms of injuries and fitness, is Damari Gray likely to be in the squad at the weekend? And Vitaly Mykolenko, is he back?
Yeah, Mykolenko's back. Damari Gray won't quite make this weekend. We're hopeful for the following week. Decore trained with us today in his first kind of integration into a proper session. So hopefully over the next week we can see a strong progression in that to be available for the following week. Ben Godfrey's getting closer. Hopefully we're on schedule at least for that, which means maybe 2 or 3 weeks. Yeremina's a bit longer. He's just starting the process. And Fabian Delph, similar to Ben Godfrey, hopefully. We're hopeful for 2 or 3 weeks for those two.
Just finally from me, Frank, just away from football, boxing at the weekend. Khan, Brook, will you be watching?
I will be watching. I'm not a huge boxing expert. I have a lot of respect and admiration for them and for the sport. I will be watching because I know the characters. I'm not going to be sitting and making a judgment. I don't know well enough about that, but I wish them both well, and obviously I hope that it's a good spectacle for all your viewers. I
think we've seen a bit of boxing on your Instagram, haven't we? So would you fancy your chances against either of them?
No, very simple. It might have. I made my decision, my career path very early, and for different reasons. And boxing, unfortunately, was never a big strength of mine.
So you're not going to pick a winner for us?
No. Sorry, I don't know enough, and I wouldn't want to talk one down. You know, I wish them a good and safe fight in the end, because of course it's a sport where people put themselves in a very physical, difficult position at times, and that's the thing that I've got a lot of respect for them for.
Thanks, Alan. We'll move on to Damien Johnson, please, at Premier League Productions.
Hi, Frank.
Hi.
How impressed have you been with the job that Ralph Hasenhüttl has done at Southampton? Surviving a couple of 9-0 defeats is quite impressive in its own right. But the way he's come back from that and made Southampton sort of challengers, really.
Yeah, I think the answer on that is a strength of the club, because if you talk about 9-0 defeats, and I'm not focused on them. A manager shouldn't focus on another manager's negatives or negative moments, because we'll all have them. But at those points is when you rely on a belief from the people above and around you and a structure in place. They clearly have that, and I think they're a good symbol that if you do stick and keep working in the same direction through tough times as well, periods of not winning games for a while or whatever it may be, in the Premier League it can happen to a lot of clubs. So I think it's testament to the club, testament to the manager, that he keeps working in the same direction, and then you see his ideas come out on the pitch and the players buying into them, and they're a very, very strong unit.
Donny van der Beek impressed at the weekend against Leeds. How impressed have you been with the way that he's coped with the disappointment of Manchester United and struggling there and not getting a game, to bounce back and to be sort of Premier League ready for you?
But really impressed. On a professional level, since speaking to him and him coming and seeing him train and seeing him play, absolutely impressed with his fitness, his game sharpness. But when you watch him train, it doesn't surprise you. But then when I think back to the time he's had at Manchester United, he's a top-level player. He was when Manchester United signed him. He was at Ajax. I went up against him. And to have a tough time is not easy. There's different ways of reacting. And I'm sure it was tough. And he shows that if you keep your counsel, keep your head down, keep working in the right way, I think that there's always a way through it, and people will always respect you for that. And now hopefully is a chance for him just to show his talent on a regular basis, and that's what I hope to see.
How soon will we see Dominic Calvert-Lewin back to his best, do you think, after quite a long layoff?
Well, I hope soon. I thought we saw parts of that in the Leeds performance when, in honesty, probably Dominic was 70-75% fit, and when I say that I mean he's physically, medically fit, but coming into a game of that level of physical output, I'm asking a lot from him, and he gave me 70 minutes of a really good performance. So step by step. And he's trained very well this week. Now we have him medically fit. We can push him in training at the right moments. And with the level of player he is, I hope and expect that to be soon.
Thanks a lot. Good luck.
Thank you.
Thanks, Damien. We'll go on to James Mountford at Radio Merseyside, please.
Hi, Frank.
Hi.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
The team have had 7 defeats in 10 Premier League games, and while you've 10 Premier League away games, I should say, and while you've had 2 very convincing home wins, have you noticed any frailties away from home that are different to what the team can produce at Goodison?
I think there's obvious ones. I think Goodison, as we've seen, when it's a real united force of fans and players alike, then of course it gives you a real positive feel. So that's been in our favour in my 2 games I've had there. And the flip side of that at Newcastle, the atmosphere was against us. We were okay in the game, relatively comfortable and 1-0 up, and then all of a sudden, the game turns. And there I saw a change in our mentality, and I don't mean that in a negative way, I mean it in a natural way. A team that's not been winning games and losing points, it's very, very normal to have that. So that's something we've got to contest, and I think that's probably the real balance of everyone getting excited after Leeds. My job is to not be overly excited and to look, okay, what's next and in front of us. It's a away game, different challenges, different team. So yeah, I'll be interested to see the development of the team in that case at Southampton, who are a good side. They'll have moments, and there'll be moments where the pressure's on, and we have to try and deal with those to try and get a result, because as you say, that record away from home is a difficult one to look at, and we need to try and change it.
And just continuing the theme of picking out star performances from last weekend, Alex Iwobi, I think for many had perhaps one of his best games for the club to date. What are your thoughts on Alex, and is there anything that you have said to him since arriving that you feel contributed to last weekend?
Well, no, it's Alex alone that performed like that. I just give him the platform and opportunity to play, pick him in the team, and the reason I picked him was because of how he trained. He trained really well in the 2 weeks I've been here. He's a quiet lad. He's a very talented player. I knew that, and his teammates know that. And sometimes then I just feel it's a time to give him confidence and belief. So those are the sort of small exchanges I've had in him. So he feels it from me. And then the rest is up to him. I was particularly pleased with his physical output and his defensive work for the team, which in a 4-4-2 as we were last week on the sides of midfield against Leeds is a real big shift, and he put it in and felt like he could run on for another 90 minutes. So there were really good parts to it, but I want to work with him more. Again, I'm not resting on Alex as I'm not resting on the performance as a whole or any individual. We need more. We need consistency. That's something that will define a so-so team or a very good team, and that's now really, really is a challenge because we're at the start of this, and there's a lot of work to do individually and collectively. Thanks.
Thanks, James. We'll go to Alistair McGowan at the BBC, please.
Hi, Frank.
Hi.
I just wondered after the weekend whether you'd been in touch with the owners or the hierarchy and what their sort of reflections were on your first couple of weeks.
I don't like to give away personal conversations. All I'll say is that I have a very good relationship with the owner, with the chairman, very close, and I felt support in the 3 games I've been here after both wins and after the defeat, which as a manager is as important, if not more important. And of course we're in the early stages, but I've had good communication with them, which hopefully is good for them as much as it is for me, and that's as far as I'll go with it.
And I just wondered whether you'd had any conversations with them yet about directors of football. Obviously Everton haven't got one at the minute. I just wondered whether that had come up, and also how important you think it is having one of those at a club.
I think it's been quite open. Before I actually turned up at the club, that the club is doing a strategic review of that as such across the board, and my feeling is, of course, I would like an input into that. I think it's my role to a degree, but my first role at this club is to get us winning football games, and the amount that consumes you in my job, I think it's been so important for me in these first 2 or 3 weeks to put my head completely on that and working with the squad. So I think we'll see going forward. I would have an opinion on it. I think working with a director of football, of course, many clubs do. The key for me is the communication and the fact that everything is aligned and you're working in the same direction. I think if you can get that mix great, then I think it'd be a really positive force for the club. So that's where we're in this process, and the club will make their decisions on that. And as I say, when asked for my input, I'll most certainly give it.
And just last of all, I'm not sure if you've seen it, but this week there was a report out saying that I think in 14 of Southampton's 20-odd games this season, a player had gone down between 60 and 70 minutes, allowing the other players to sort of go and have a chat with the manager and maybe get a few energy gels on board and that sort of thing. I just wondered whether you had any issue with that, or is that just sort of kind of marginal gains that you see within football and it's all fair game?
Yeah, I think it is fair game. I don't think I saw the report too, and I don't think you can. There's no absolute clarity. I know there's 14 out of 20 games and all these things, and maybe one game they were losing, they didn't need to. Those decisions in game are not that easy, so I'll reserve judgment. But I do think it's marginal gains. I think it's been going on for years. I remember playing under certain managers, and there were marginal gains going on all the time. And for me, that one doesn't cross the line. I won't go into those, by the way, but that one doesn't cross the line. And fair play for teams that are, and management and staff and clubs that are trying to tick the boxes but not go over that line. Sometimes that's a fine balance.
Thanks, Alistair.
Thanks.
We'll take one from Jim Conlon, please.
Hi, Frank. Just one quick question on Richarlison. You've played with many Brazilians throughout your years during your time at Chelsea, likes of Oscar and William, and you've come up against the likes of Kaká, Ronaldinho, Rivaldo. How do you rate Richarlison in terms of his ability? Can he reach those heights, and can he reach those heights at Everton?
Well, every player is different, so it's hard to and I wouldn't compare to some of those names that you mentioned there for Richie, because he's his own player. He's a young player still. But what I've seen of him and how I've worked with him, I've loved every bit of him. From every day in training and the effort he puts in and the personality he shows, the group love him for how he is around the place. But as a player, I think his mobility, his aggression at times, his quality, his constant mobility for the team is something that, you know, as an attacking player to have in your squad or to coach is a great thing. So I think there's a lot more to come from him. I'll try and bring that out myself by supporting him and working with him. I think he can achieve what he wants at Everton, because we're an ambitious club that wants to keep moving in the right direction, and hopefully he'll feel that from me, because I'm an ambitious coach and I want to work with good players, so hopefully we can be good for each other.